Hey guys, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. So, last episode was a live stream. We made a lot of progress. Thank you by the way for tuning in if you did. If not, we're going to go through a quick recap of what's changed. So I have been doing some building here between episodes, and we have a couple of new automation setups over here. The first thing is a really quick setup for making sandstone, and we're going to use our sandstone to pulverize for a chance at some niter. And we use this niter in the erothium dust, which is used in mana dust, and this is used for our mithril ingots. We also have a cobblestone generator and a snowball generator here for the cryothium, or the blizz powder, which we make cryothium with. During the stream we also set up our inscribers, and they're set up in a way that we can easily batch craft with them. So we can just input a ton of gold in here, a ton of redstone, and it will spit out 3 different types of processors. There's also a few new additions to this little corridor down here. I've set up our slice and splice and soulbinder again. And we also have a second alloy smelter just to speed things up. And also a sag mill. And I've been using the sag mill actually to process all of our ores, since using the sag mill with these grinding balls gives you an extra chance output. And this is especially useful for things like diamonds. And speaking of diamonds, the excavator has been moved again. I think this actually might have been like this last episode, but before the live stream it was over next to the farm over there doing copper. But we need so much more diamonds than this. Yeah, we are short on diamonds. So the diamonds are all going to go through the sag mill, where we're going to get a lot of yield for each ore. We also made some progression through chapter 11. This was so that we could unlock plastic. So a quick recap on the way we get plastic in this pack. We have to mix nutrient distillation with HDPE sheets. And this is the whole process from Mekanism, where you have to do liquid ethylene oxygen with substrate, and then to get the substrate you need to do biofuel, hydrogen, water. But luckily you do not actually need to do this long term. Once you have the HDPE sheets, you fluid solidify with the nutrient distillation to get your plastic, and I think you actually only need 9 plastic to get started. Once you have the first plastic, you can craft both the tree fluid extractor and the latex processing unit, which we have set up here. This setup isn't complete yet, as it could do with a block placer to automate the logs, but basically this will extract latex from logs that are placed in front of it. The latex comes out from the conduits here, where it gets mixed with water, and this turns into tiny rubber. We're then auto-crafting that with the formulaic assemblycator, and that gets smelted and gives us our plastic output. And all of this plastic, by the way, is used in the industrial foregoing machines, which I think we're going to be crafting this episode also. There's a couple of automations with industrial foregoing that would be really nice to get set up. And to craft all of these future machines, again, we need machine chassis. And I'm dreaming about these things by now. But if we recall, the machine chassis take a lot of different tiers. It takes things like end steel, melodic alloy. We need also grains of piezoality. Lots and lots of nether quartz. Yeah, this is very heavily nested crafting here. And one of the resources we found that we actually need lots and lots of is ender pearls. So a couple of episodes ago we set up this mob farm, and it's actually decent, but we do not have any upgrades on this thing, and we're only producing a tiny amount of ender pearls. So to try and fix the ender pearl shortage, during the live stream we built this enderman farm. This farm design is just very simple setup. It's just a 5x5 with some cursed earth, and we have a mob fan to push mobs down, where they're killed by fall damage, and then we're collecting their drops with the absorption hopper. All the drops go into these drawers, where we're just manually transporting them back to the overworld for now. And I have switched this out with a compacting drawer, just to make transporting the ender pearls a little bit easier. 3 stacks of blocks, and I think this is 4 each. So it's not bad for the short amount of time it's been running, but we need lots more than this. So to try and increase the output, I want to switch over to using a mob masher, now that we have a bit more diamonds. We do need some more mob grindium and things. I would also like to add some looting upgrades to this as well, so we can go up to looting 10 on this thing. But as you can see here, this upgrade is not cheap at all. We need some of this Aether Dimension gel. So I have been collecting some more Gravitite and Skyroot Remedy, but we should have some of this already in our system. Yeah, we already have 3, so we need another 2 crafts of this, which should be doable to be honest. There's 9, and then all we're missing now is some mob grindium, which we're going to make in our much faster alloy smelter here. During the live stream I also did actually swap out one of the farming stations with 1 quadrant of ender lilies, and this thing isn't particularly fast, but every little helps and we need as much efficiency as we can at this point. So we're going to add fortune to our hatchet here, which goes inside the farming station. And actually that was just about all the lapis we had, so maybe that was a mistake. I don't know, we'll see. So after a bit more crafting and gathering, we can make 12 looting upgrades. The 2 extra we may as well use in our overworld farm here. And the rest of the loot and upgrades are going to go inside our end farm here, which I've moved the mob masher actually up to the level of the cursed earth. And this was because we were getting those divine RPG mobs that spawn, and sometimes they were getting stuck at the top here. So I've put some conveyors down just to try to get them all to the middle. Man, those guys do a lot of damage here. I've also added some more drawers for extra items that we were missing. And now that we're getting EXP, we have to deal with that, so I've just added a fluid trash can for now. Perhaps when we get access to ender tanks, we can transport this fluid EXP and use it back at our base. So this thing could also do with some sharpness upgrades, but I think the sharpness also takes this mob grindium, and we are very, very short on mob grindium. But moving the mob masher up here means that we can actually remove all of this stuff. Alright, so I got the whole platform removed here, and I also slabbed over top, just to stop any more mob spawns. And this is also a much cleaner setup, which should alleviate our ender pearl problem. So while we're waiting on some resources from our mob farms and also the excavator and things, I would like to increase our connectivity with applied energistics. Ideally, I would like to have applied energistics run all the way throughout the base and connect to drawer networks like our farm over here, so that we can access them anywhere on our network. It's going to also be nice to hook up some of these output drawers with storage buses, and we still don't have access to autocrafting yet, so it will just be a matter of being able to see the outputs. So to start hooking up the applied energistics system, we need a bunch more processors, which is part of the reason why I set up our inscribers again. And we'll also need a bunch of export and import buses, as these are used to craft the storage buses. These I think just take a lot of steel. Yeah, some black quartz, some flux, some logic processors. And the import bus is the formation core, which takes pure Certus. So I did already start batch crafting a bunch of this stuff. A few stacks of pure flux and pure Certus. And there's already about a stack of each processor here. And remember, a quick tip if you guys are playing this pack, don't just craft the amount that you need. You need way more than what you think you do. So for example, for the import bus craft, we need a bunch of pistons, and I think we actually need this on the export bus as well, which takes iron rods and plates. So in this case, I'm going to make up, I don't know, a full hopper worth of plates, and probably the same for rods as well. We're also going to need some various cable from Applied Energistics. So again, we're going to batch craft this stuff. There's, I guess, two stacks of quartz fiber, and we'll make a lot of this into the glass cable. So there's 3 stacks. It probably won't be enough to cover our whole base, but I guess we'll make a start with that. So I made up the rest of the components I think we're going to need. The quest reward actually gave us a network tool here, which we can use to check our network details. As you can see here, we are consuming about 26 RF a tick. And once we start adding more network components, that is going to increase quite substantially actually. So in fact, we may also have to increase our power generation this episode to accommodate for the extra AE costs. So to expand our network here, I'm going to do a dense cable on each side of this subnet controller. And this way it allows us to see how many channels that we're using. And then from here we're going to go in the 4 directions of our base, just with some glass cable for now. And later on I think we will be switching this out for dense cable, since the smart cable can only transfer 8 channels each. So the first side of the base I'm going to do is our machine hall over here. And I think the most logical way to do this is just to run a main line across here. One branch that comes out this way, and then we'll branch it again over here. And then probably one more line to that door. And all of the cable we're going to try and hide underneath the floor. Alright, so once we've extended some cable over from the subnet controller over there, the way we're going to handle each of these branches is we're going to have a P2P connection. And then I like to do a smart cable here, just so that we can see the channels going in or coming out from the P2P. And then from here we can just extend it along. So then we'll have to link our P2P connection. So we come over here to our main controller, shift right click one of the P2Ps that are free, and then we can right click to link the channel, and now we effectively have access to 32 channels coming out from this P2P right here. As when you link these, it's effectively like you're plugging this cable directly into the face of that controller over there, which of course can output 32 channels. And then what we can do here to hook up all of these drawers to the one network, we can have some frame trim, which is effectively just like drawer cabling, and then hook that up to our drawer controller, put down a storage bus on the drawer controller. So we see the device is online. This will take up 1 channel from our P2P. And on storage buses like this for components, I like to do high priority, which will prioritize the input of the items, but it will take from every other source first before it takes from this one. That only really applies later on once we start moving items around with applied energistics, but it's a nice habit to get into. We do have this thing over here though. How are we going to hook this drawer up? Well, since we have access to item conduits now, we can actually remove these item ducts. And we can conduit the back and replace this with some energy conduit. And this means that we can share the block space, so I've configured the machines to output the back side instead of the bottom side, so that the output of this enrichment chamber gets round-robined. I'm using the round-robin feature on the conduits between these two metallurgic infusers for the compressed diamonds. And this way we can hook up our drawer network to this last drawer over here for refined obsidian dust. So now all of this is hooked up, we should see, just as a tester here, we should see 49 refined obsidian dust. And I did make sure there was no other refined obsidian dust in our system before this. So when we come back over to our terminal, we can see our 49 dusts in here, along with all the other items that are connected to that drawer network. Alright, so I've taken some time and hooked up all the different areas of our base into our applied energistics network. I've run cables all the way to the farm, and I've hooked up pretty much all of the drawers here to our network, so we have access to all of these enriched alloy, the basic control circuits. And on things like this chest, which is the output of these two machines, I have an import bus, which will just take everything from this chest and put it on our storage drives over there, rather than having a storage bus here. And I've done the same thing for the pulverizer smelter setup, and also this storage crate, which is the output of the sag mill and the alloy smelters. As you see now, I also crafted up the industrial foregoing block placer, and this is so that we can automate the placement of the logs for the tree fluid extractor. And what we can actually do to keep this saturated with logs is put an export bus on this drawer. I'm also going to put a storage downgrade on this so that it only holds one stack of logs, because I would rather keep the main log storage at our farm over there. And this is just going to be a small buffer that we use for plastic. So we can filter this for dark oak logs, which is the ones that we're farming. And once we hook this up, we should see some logs fill here. And then we have conduit on the side, which pulls it into the block placer. And this way we don't have to worry about keeping this drawer full. It will just automatically produce plastic, as long as there's space in this drawer here. Alright, so now that we have all of our areas of our base hooked up, that's going to be very important in the next few episodes. The next thing I would like to do though is continue down the industrial foregoing chapter. And the goal for this episode is to get down to this little ingot down here. And this is crystalline brown slime ingots, which requires fertilizer and crystalline pink slime ingots. Both of these are kind of joined up in the way that we're going to automate it. So fertilizer we get from sewage, which we have to collect from animals. And pink slime we have to create, I didn't realise there was this extra arc furnace step. I guess that's all the more reason for more ender pearls here. But we need pink slime ingots, which we get from pink slime liquid. And to get the liquid pink slime, we need a mob slaughter factory. So this might not make too much sense at the moment, but bear with me here. So we need a couple of machines for this as well. Obviously we need the mob slaughter factory. Actually it isn't too bad once we have these machine casings, which take the enhanced machine parts. And this requires all of the chassis and tiers below that. But I have been grinding up some more resources, and we have a handful of each tier of chassis that we can use. So there is our mob slaughter factory. I think this will be a quest. We will also need an animal feeder, and also an animal baby separator. Alright, so now with these machines, we have to set this little farm up. And I was thinking that we actually farm buffaloes, since we're going to need buffalo hide later on to make, well, we can craft it into regular leather, which is a nice bonus, but we also need it to automate the raw industrial leather, which we need later on to turn into a bunch of magical items, and yeah, I assume we're going to need lots and lots of this stuff. And so now I'm going to take some time to start laying out this little area. I think we're going to do it right about here, as it's quite close to our farm here, and we need wheat to breed to these buffaloes up, which we can easily add back into our farming station, or maybe even add another layer to this. But either way, the output of the wheat is going to be in our drawer network down here, which is going to make it quite easy to transfer the items into the feeder, which is going to sit probably around here. I'm not too sure yet what this is going to look like, but let me do some building and then we'll be back once we're ready to start setting up our machines here. Hey, you're not a buffalo. Where did all our buffaloes go? Alright, so I've started laying out a little basic room layout. I've connected this over to the stairway over here to our farm, and this is also going to continue this way probably for some more automations in the future. But this loops round from the exit from our farm, underneath these stairs here, and connects up to this room, which is where our farm is going to be. And I mentioned I wanted to farm buffaloes, but apparently all of our buffaloes died over there, so we're going to have to convert some more. So I've placed our 3 machines here. The first one is the animal feeder. This is going to feed wheat to the cows, and they will breed in this pen. And then the animal baby separator will separate out the baby cows, and they will go into this pen, where they will be mob slaughter factoried into pink slime, and also we get liquid meat from this as well. I'm not sure how useful this is. We may or may not need it later on, I'm not sure, but we'll keep it anyway. So the first thing to get this going is to hook up wheat to this input here. We are kinda short on item conduits, so maybe we'll hold off on that and we'll just have a buffer drawer here. But these also are, as you can see, a 1x1 radius by default. And the pens that we've got there are 5x5, which means that we need some range add-ons to fix that. And we only need up to range +2, which will take our machines up to the 5x5 that we need. And now we can see they cover the full 5x5 range. These machines also do take a little bit of power to run. I don't think it's very much, to be honest. It's only like 20 RF a tick. So for now, we're just going to hook it up to our main power source here, but we may actually just put some thermoelectric generators maybe underneath this pen, and that will be probably enough to power all 3 of these machines. But just to get it up and running, I'm going to hook it up to our main network here. And then we'll just run some conduit along to each one to provide power. Alright, so I think it's actually already working. We can see these machines have turned on. And we do have a tiny bit of pink slime and liquid meat in here. Yeah, it did consume some wheat from this animal feeder. So for the time being, I'm just going to put a drawer here and we'll manually fill it with wheat. And then import into this animal feeder. And I forgot, we actually don't get any drops from this mob slaughter factory. It just converts all of the drops into meat and pink slime. So we actually don't have to worry about running a cable to our drawer network over there. We just need some way of storing the fluid. And the quest reward gave us this reinforced large drum, which is what we're going to use to store the pink slime in. But now that we have this working, we need to make this look a little bit nicer than this thing, as it looks a bit of a mess right now. Aha, much better, don't you think? So the first thing is I moved this pen in, as I realised we only really actually need a 1x1 here for the baby cows. And then we have 2 fluid tanks, one for the liquid meat, and one is for pink slime, which gets output to this bigger reinforced large drum. Just for the bigger buffer, as this holds 4 million millibuckets, over 4 million millibuckets. And then yeah, I pretty much just tried to keep consistent with the design of the base. And we have this hooking up over to this walkway, which is very dangerous here with the cable. But this hooks up to the immersive room, and then we'll eventually hook up to the farm there once I connect it up. So yeah, this is just going to keep running and giving us passive pink slime, which we're going to use for the next step, which is going to be to get the pink slime itself. And right now we're only getting the fluid, but we need to get this pink slime ball. So to do that, we're going to make use of applied energistics and use the fluid formation plane. We are also going to need a fluid storage bus for this to work, and we haven't made these yet. They are very similar to the item storage buses, however they do take this operation processor, which we only recently unlocked the ability to craft actually, as this takes the mithril ingots in the inscriber. But since we don't have an easy way to produce mithril right now, I'm not going to bother setting up the inscribers yet, and in fact this whole system is going to get rebuilt, and I really don't like the way it turned out, and it's kind of a spaghetti mess. It will be fixed one day. But right now I'm just going to manually craft, probably 4 of these things will be enough for us. And then yeah, with these we're going to craft the fluid import bus and the export bus, which I think are 2 quests. And then we'll make our first fluid storage bus, which I actually avoided in interactions just for the challenge of it, but I think we'll be using them here. So we're going to hook up our fluid storage bus to this reinforced large drum with the pink slime. Again set to high priority, and we'll partition for pink slime. And this lets our applied energistics system import and export from this large drum, which we'll have to connect up to our system, although this is my last 14 glass cables, and to make glass cables we need nether quartz. And taking a look at our nether quartz situation, it's not looking too healthy right now, so I think I'm going to take a little trip to the nether, and maybe pick up some diamonds on the way as well. So that ended up being quite a fruitful nether trip actually. I picked up some more lapis, which was sorely needed, as well as some diamonds and of course nether quartz. And then I've hooked up this ME connection over next to the storage bus that's on our drawer network over there. So now somewhere we have to hook up this fluid formation plane, and I was thinking that actually we do it down at our mob farm. And And if we spawn them inside our mob farm here, it means that we can make use of the fortune upgrades that we've added today. So while I was hooking everything up, I didn't actually hook up this mob farm yet, as, yeah, I was out of cable. But we have another 2 stacks here. That should be enough to get us up to our controller up there. Trying to think what the best way to run this cable is, though. Alright, so I hooked up an ME connection down here, and we're going to start hooking up this fluid formation plane. This also means, by the way, that we can hook up our drawer network as well. I did forget the storage bus, though, so I'll go back for that. So let's turn off our mob fans to begin with. I did put some lights in here, so there shouldn't be... Oh, we got bats in here. That might have been an issue, actually. That might have hurt our spawn rates a bit. So what we're going to do is put our fluid formation plane probably up here in the wall, and that way pink slime will spawn up here and then get pushed by the fan into the crusher, or the mob masher. So I started setting that up and I was a bit confused as to why it wouldn't work, but it turns out that we actually need an import bus here on the reinforced large drum. Doing it like this with the import bus means that it's a bit harder to send the fluid anywhere else, unless we start using priorities and things. But I don't actually think we'll need this pink slime anywhere else other than our mob farm down there. And if you're going to do something like this, you have to also be careful if you want to partition drives, because this will put all of the pink slime in this tank into any available drives. But since we don't have any drives yet, and may not in the future either, I'm okay with doing this just now. So the way I have this hooked up is we have some signs around the fluid formation plane just to stop the pink slime from going anywhere and spilling out everywhere. And then all we have to do is filter for pink slime in the formation plane. And we should just be able to hook it up now. And once the device establishes a channel, it will place the pink slime in the world. And after a couple of seconds, we should see a pink slime spawn in here. Aha, there we go. These little guys will get pushed into the middle once we turn our mob fans back on. And this will also apply the looting effect, as I mentioned, which is exactly what we're after. So we can also hook up a storage bus to our drawer controller here as well. And that way we have access to all of the mob drop items from our ME system up here. And we can already see some pink slime coming in here. And so yeah, we're now going to get passive pink slime. So I'm not sure how fast this system is and how much pink slime we need. I have actually a feeling now that I've set this up, it may not be enough the way we have this. But this setup will not be going to waste if we end up changing this mob slaughter factory. It may be the case that we have to use this factory maybe downstairs at our mob farm, so that we can get increased yield for pink slime. And if that's the case, then we'll convert this to a mob crusher from Industrial Foregoing, and we'll be able to collect the drops and farm leather that way, which we're going to need to automate at some point anyway. So, but now that we have pink slime, we have to combine that with mithril ingots, and we have made these before, although they are definitely not cheap ingots to make. But the other part of the brown slime that we need is actually fertilizer, and we get this from sewage, which we can collect from animals. So to set this up, we're going to need 2 more machines. We need an animal sewer, which looks like it takes the animal rancher. Okay, that's another machine casing I wasn't factoring into my counting here. Well, we can make the rancher. Let's pick it up just in case it's a quest. And the sewer just takes one of these tanks, which is actually quite a lot of dark steel. These tanks are quite expensive in this pack as well. I feel like I'm saying that a lot here, but... And yeah, with that, we are actually out of machine cases here. Can we make another one? Oh, maybe actually. Yeah, we need another 2 machine cases. There's our animal sewer, and we also need the composter, which is how we process the sewage that comes from the sewer itself. Oh, and this thing also takes the Stirling generator, and not the basic version either. This thing apparently also takes podzol, which we can actually make here with some biomass, which I made for the plastic during the live stream, and we just combine that with some dirt. I don't actually think I've seen any podzol in this world either, so I'm glad we have this method of obtaining this, as hunting for this would have been a nightmare. Alright, but with the podzol, I crafted up the rest of the materials. There is our sewage composter. So this animal sewer we can actually put in our cow farm here, and I believe it goes underneath. So if we need to stick it in this middle block, and conveniently there is actually power there. And we'll need the spare range add-on I crafted, which should take it up to the full 5x5. And as you can see, we're getting some sewage in here. Either way, we're going to put down our sewage composter, probably right in the front here. I'm going to put a drawer next to it, and then we have some item conduit underneath to extract the fertilizer. To route the sewage into this composter, I've run some fluid conduit underneath, and this we just have to set to extract. We should see all of our sewage get extracted from here. This sewage composter takes 2 buckets to convert to fertilizer. And yeah, this is going to give us very easily fertilizer. And this I think is going to be sufficiently fast. But yeah, maybe the pink slime will have to buff a bit. And this drawer we can even put a storage bus on, so that we can have access through our applied energistics system. And we also have access to facades, so we can even hide this cable here. As well as this one here, actually. There, that's much neater. Aha, and there's our quest, which leads us into this brown slime ingot. But first let me make up a batch of this pink slime with the mithril. How much pink slime do we have by now? Only 6, okay. Well, I guess we just use what we have and we make up our first batch of pink slime ingots. Nice, so this gives us our pink slime ingots, which we're going to make with the grains of piezomality into the crystalline pink slime ingots. And these pink slime ingots on their own are actually quite useful, so we're going to need lots more than this in the future. But we'll pick them up for the quest. Oh, I guess it wasn't a quest. Alright, so the next quest is the brown slime ingots, which we have to combine the pink slime with our fertilizer. Oh, and it even gives us 2 at a time as well, for every 1 input of pink slime. How generous. Aha, we get 32 pulsating iron as well for that. Awesome, so this opens up a few different options for us. What is this down here? Mega torch? How difficult are these to craft? Oh, this takes 2 blocks. Oh, wow. Well, that's definitely a unique recipe for the mega torch. But this brown slime ingot was what was getting us from the RFtools Machine frames. And now that we have some of this, these RFtools Machine frames don't actually look too bad. I mean, they still do require all of the chassis and things, but the extra cost on top of that is just some dark bimetal gears. Which is still not trivial at this point, but it seems a lot more doable than it did a few episodes ago. And it looks like behind the first RFtools machine frame, we get our first quarry, which is going to be amazing. It means that we can stop relying on this excavator, and we'll be able to passively generate more or less every resource, I believe. And you know what? Looking at the recipe for this builder, I think we actually have the ability to make all of these parts here now. I just don't know if we have the required resources, so I may have to do some more grinding before we can get the materials required for this. But actually, I don't think we're too far off of this thing. So it turns out I was actually able to craft up enough materials to make the item conduit required for this animal feeder up here, so we can hook it up to our wheat that we're getting from our farm. Which I have actually added back into this farming station instead of the industrial hemp that we were having here before. And I've turned off this animal separator just to let the cows build up a bit more. And hopefully this will increase our pink slime rates a bit. But to finish off for today, let's go back to the end and check how many ender pearls we've had now. Oh man, that's a lot of ender spiders here. But anyways, we have 61 blocks of ender pearls. That's more like it. And this thing hasn't even been running that long either. Yeah, we can fill our inventory probably 4 times over with this drawer. Oh yeah, this was well worth the upgrades for this thing. So with that, I think this is a good point to wrap up the episode. I'm going to keep farming, try to gather some more resources, and try to craft a few more machine frames that we can use. And I noticed this actually also opened up chapter 12 for us, which is the actually addition stuff. Which may be something we'll look at next time, I'm not sure. We may go back and automate the stuff that we've left behind a bit. We'll see. But anyways, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more Divine Journey 2.